Given the classes I've taught at Harvard and Georgetown law schools on managing groups and teams, I often get asked how to improve communication skills in a team. So, if you have ever been working in a group or a team setting and thought to yourself that you might prefer scraping your nails on a chalkboard or running over hot coals barefoot, then participate in one more meeting with this group, then this video is for you. I'm Bob Bordone. I'm an expert on group process, negotiation, and communication. For more than 20 years, I've taught skills courses on these topics at Harvard Law School, where I'm currently a senior fellow. So, have you ever been sitting in a meeting and felt like things were completely adrift, pointless, even frustrating? If not, please contact me immediately so I can get a sample of your DNA and study you and your workplace. Otherwise, welcome to humanity. Research suggests that working professionals such as lawyers will spend more than 10,000 hours of their professional lives in meetings. Dreadful. So having them be unproductive means that a non-trivial part of your life is spent in frustration. So today we're going to learn about why teams fail, but we're also going to learn some things you can do to improve your communication. Specifically, I'm going to share with you 4 tips for improving communication skills when you are working on a team. And if you stay to the end, I'm going to share with you a lesson that I learned many years ago when I was working with a team of instructors at Harvard Law School. So, tip number 1, whenever possible, hire or appoint a facilitator for your group. So what is a facilitator? It's someone who is tasked with actually helping the group successfully run a meeting. Their job is to focus on the process of the meeting so that everyone else can focus on the substance. Facilitators, though, are also there to ensure that everyone at the meeting gets heard, which means that they can manage the traditionally louder voices and make sure that the traditionally quieter voices don't get drowned out. Facilitators also make sure that a group doesn't get sidetracked unnecessarily. I mean, how many times have you been in a meeting where the first 3 quarters feel completely pointless, and then suddenly, when there's 10 minutes left, a whole bunch of decisions get made? Or maybe even worse, in the last 10 minutes, everyone decides that you won't be able to make the decision you need to make today, and so we should use the last 10 minutes to get our calendars out to schedule another meeting.
We have another meeting to get to.
It's no wonder there are so many SNL skits that are spoofs of meetings going badly. At Harvard and Georgetown law schools, I've taught classes on facilitation to aspiring law students. It is a really tough set of skills to navigate, even for highly skilled people. Problem number 1 in communication on a team is that often there really isn't a facilitator running the meeting. But problem number 2 is that sometimes there is someone running the meeting. It's like the facilitator de facto is the boss. And of course, on the one hand, it makes sense. I mean, the boss might be the one who actually called the meeting. On the other hand, this can be problematic for a number of reasons. First, just because they're the boss doesn't mean they have the good process or good listening skills required of facilitators. But secondly, even if your boss is highly skilled, because that person is in the role of supervisor, other participants on the team might be more likely to defer to this person because they're the boss. In my years running various teams at Harvard Law School, I always tried to avoid facilitating meetings whenever possible. Not because I don't know about facilitation, but rather because I knew that as the supervisor, it would be healthier for the team if someone else ran the meeting and I was a participant who literally had to raise his hand to talk. Now, in an ideal world, especially when there are lots of serious decisions to be made on a diverse team where there are differing or conflicting viewpoints, it could be a real advantage to actually hire a paid facilitator. A paid external facilitator has the advantage of not having a stake in the outcome, only in the process. Also, they typically have background experience and training to be successful in helping improve the communication capacity of the team. Of course, there are times when a team can't hire an outside facilitator. And when that's the case, still be sure to pick someone who is naturally skilled at listening, managing process, and ensuring that everyone's voice gets heard and elevated. In situations where you can't hire a facilitator, but where the team will be functioning over an extended time period, an organization ought to consider getting some of their members trained in facilitation skills so that the capacity is built internally. A lot of the work I do at the Cambridge Negotiation Institute involves either me facilitating groups or actually training individuals within an organization to be facilitators themselves. If you're interested in this training, I hope you'll reach out to me at the Cambridge Negotiation Institute. Okay, second tip, establish a process. When working in teams, it's important to establish some kind of process to assure clear and efficient communication. So what do I mean by process? Well, a process is the way in which the group or team will actually work together. For example, if there's a 90-minute meeting where at the end the participants are charged with making a decision about, let's say, the advertising strategy for the next year, a process might lay out an agenda as follows. It might suggest perhaps spending a few minutes identifying what are the issues we need to decide. Then it would suggest having people discuss what are our interests with respect to these issues. Then the next step might be, what are some possibilities that would meet those interests? And then the next step might be evaluating the pros and cons of each of these options. And then the last step might be actually making the decision. On the last point, it should be clear at the beginning whether a group is making a decision on a majority basis, or a unanimous basis, or a consensus basis, or whether the idea is we're going to make a recommendation to the CEO or the supervisor so that that person can use the information to make the decision themselves. By establishing a clear and understandable process, and then putting time amounts on each step of the process, you make sure that a meeting moves forward in a logical way and that everyone involved actually knows what's happening at any given moment. That in itself is mind-blowing, since that almost never happens in a meeting. Many times when I'm first called in to work with an organization, I'll sit in on a meeting, and as I'm watching, I honestly cannot tell what on earth the meeting is about, what a good outcome will be at the end. It just seems as if the people have come together for an hour and then will leave and be frustrated.
Well, I feel frustrated.
Afterwards, though, sometimes I'll survey people who are present, and I'll say, so at this particular in the moment of the meeting, what do you think we were talking about on the agenda? And I'll often get blank looks or stares or a menu of answers that are fascinating because they are so radically different from the answers that others are giving, speaking about the same exact moment in the meeting. So by establishing process, you put a purposeful frame on a communication that helps people understand where we are and where we're going. In addition, having a process helps when things get off track. So if I know we're supposed to be evaluating options for the advertising budget, but we're now talking about glitches in the new app we created, having a process allows us to know that we are adrift, and it gives us a way to call us back to what we agreed was the purpose of the meeting. Third, create and build psychological safety. So a third critical step to take to improve communication skills on a team is to create psychological safety for the group. What is psychological safety? It's a concept coined by Harvard Business School professor Amy Edmondson, and it's defined as the belief that one will not be punished or humiliated for speaking up with ideas, questions, concerns, or mistakes. When working on a team, creating an atmosphere of psychological safety is absolutely critical to effective communication. So what does this look like? It means encouraging opposing viewpoints, encouraging dissenting voices in an active way. It also means using lots of active listening, a topic I've covered in other videos. And it also means fighting groupthink, the tendency in groups to have viewpoints coalesce around similar ideas, and to raise the cost of dissenting opinions by making them feel as if they are a problem, wrong, or an annoyance if they bring them up. So the fourth tip is make space for emotions. And it's here where I'm going to tell you a story of my own learning and experience around how important this is. So when you're working on a team, there's often a dynamic that keeps the group very task-oriented. So emotions are running high, tensions are flaring, And then maybe someone says something like,
We really need to keep on task, or let's not get emotional here.
and moves like that, they're definitely intended to be helpful, but honestly, they're usually counterproductive to the team and to team communication. So instead of ignoring or skirting the emotion, a skillful move on a team is actually to find the space to acknowledge and work through those emotions explicitly. So I know this might seem like it's touchy-feely, or maybe that it's slowing things down, but acknowledging the emotions of the individuals on the team actually can be a really smart move to increasing productivity and helping rebuild trust. And this in turn, of course, improves communication. So let me give you an example from my own experience. A bunch of years ago, I was leading a team of 14 people who had to meet every single week. We were 14 really busy people, meaning that the only time we could actually all come together was a Monday morning at 7 a.m. Now I want to be clear, this was pre-COVID. This was not a Zoom meeting at 7 a.m. This was people coming into the room at 7 a.m. Oh, also, I live in Boston. Oh, and this was in February and March, where like the temperature is like 8 degrees. So here we are in a meeting. It's the end of February, and emotions are running high. Literally nothing is getting done. There is no listening. People are being short and snarky with each other. And then suddenly one of my colleagues actually says, wow, there's a lot of strong feeling and tension in the room right now. I wonder if we could just spend 10 minutes just going around and hear how people are feeling. Now, I think on most teams, this would earn a ginormous internal eye roll. But of course, in this particular group, we were trained to do this stuff. And we just thought like, oh yeah, okay, maybe we should do that. And people shared emotions of feeling tired and exhausted. Midterms were coming up. Nerves were frayed. The weather had been bad. People just felt anxious. After about 10 minutes, there was literally this collective sigh of relief in the room. We were able to turn to the task, the work we were supposed to do, and we did it with so much more efficiency than we were doing before we had acknowledged that emotion. So, to improve communication on a team, follow these 4 steps. First, hire or appoint a facilitator. Second, pay really careful attention to the process your team is using to do its work, to make its decisions, and to make progress. Third, create an atmosphere of psychological safety. And lastly, always be sure to make space for dealing with and acknowledging the emotions on the team. If your team can use some help facilitating meetings, or if you'd like to have members of your team trained in facilitation tools, reach out to me at the Cambridge Negotiation Institute. Of course, keep on watching these videos for tips on negotiation, communication, and good process. And please watch the next video on how to improve your negotiation skills. I'm Bob Bordone. Thanks for watching, and let's keep negotiating together. There's a lot of great videos on this channel. Definitely start binging.